Welcome, y'all.
Hey, Austin. Long time no here on the podcast.
Yeah.
Long time no pod. Thank you.
It's
Heidi.
been a while.
That's Heidi joining in there.
Yep, I had to chime in.
And Chandler's here.
Hey, guys.
Hey, y'all. He's usually camera switching. He is doing double duty today.
Because if anybody can do it, it's Chandler Bing.
Chandler Bing. So we are entering season 5 now.
Wow.
This is going to be episode 246.
Okay.
Can you believe it?
Can't believe it.
No,
Yeah.
I've missed so many. I need to catch up.
We're behind.
Yes. What I need y'all to do, y'all remember Heidi and Austin from Florida. I need y'all to go back to Florida and get everybody to follow and like us on YouTube.
I'll do it.
Because we are trying to get to 1,000, which we're at 800 and something right now. And once you get to 1,000, you can start monetizing.
Ooh, gotcha.
So, I mean, it might only be a penny a month, but you know what? That's a penny we didn't have before.
And Harold says once we start making money, then we're going to buy a penthouse in Pensacola and share it.
Well, once the podcasts start making money.
Yes, that's his promise to me.
Well, let's just segue that into, we have 2 new Patreon members,
Okay.
Chelsea R and Ann F.
Awesome.
Welcome, ladies.
Y'all.
And thank you so much. Welcome, y'all. And thank you so much for supporting the show. And if you would like to be like Chelsea and Ann and our other loyal, faithful Patreon subscribers and help the show, you can go to patreon.com/grits and you can help support the show. Please do. You get some little bonuses. Oh, while I'm speaking of this, I need my Patreon members. If I haven't sent you your sticker, I'm sure I'm overdue. Please go to the website, www.GritsWithASideOfMurder.com. Send me an email and tell me that I didn't send your sticker to you. And I will not only send you a sticker or 2 or 3, but I'll also send you a magnet because I'm behind. So thank y'all for being patient with me. Also this week, we had a comment on YouTube. Yes, we're on the YouTubes. It was the 2-timing woman episode 222. Eric commented he was not going to convert to Catholic, not meaning himself. But if you want to know what that means, go listen to episode 222.
All right, we'll do it.
And then you can make a comment.
I wonder if I camera switched for that one.
I'm sure you did. He was not going to convert to Catholic. Does that sound familiar to you?
No, it doesn't. Actually, no, maybe not.
I think he was, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm probably not, he was very into his Mormon religion, and his girlfriend, he loved her so much, they wanted to get married, and he was going to convert to Catholic. And she, maybe you didn't. I'm not trying to retell episode 222. Yeah, that was like 20 episodes ago at least.
Worth a listen regardless.
Yes, so that's all the housekeeping stuff. Thank y'all so much for bearing with us through that. We also have some guests in what we like to call the peanut gallery. They're not mic'd. We have Chris. We have Mickey. So they're going to be here sitting in, listening. Maybe we can get them on the show next time. All right. Anything new with y'all 3 before we get started?
Oh my gosh, I got all the news.
Well, tell me. This isn't going to come out.
I know.
Okay. Your news will be on social medias before.
I'm going to be a grandmother for the first time.
Whoa.
And we're searching for our grandma and grandpa names. So
if you
tell Tammy and she will let me know.
Send me an email. Go to contact us on GritsWithASideOfMurder.com. Tell us what you think Heidi and Austin's grandparent names should be.
You realize we're bikers and we're young at heart. So we can't be Grammy and Grampy. It's got to be something cool.
Yeah, you can't be Meemaw and Peepaw.
No. Not going to work for us.
No. All right. Anything new with you, Chandler?
I'm just chilling. on my Christmas break.
Yeah, nothing new with you then.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
We are going to 2003. All right, for this story. You got gnats? We got gnats.
There's always a gnat when Tammy pods, always.
One of our listeners
in the house.
Well, look, one of our listeners sent in a message to me and told me what gnat thing to buy, and I still have yet to go buy it. But he said they work.
Okay.
So he's like,
they come in that often that you got a viewer telling you.
Yes,
Right.
that's how often we have gnats. All right. 2003. Let's talk about some pop culture. All right. Anybody remember the Super Bowl halftime show?
Was it the nipple incident?
I just want everybody
not.
that's listening to know that I was born in 2003, so I will not remember anything.
Any of that
halftime show.
This does not apply to you.
No.
Okay. Super Bowl halftime was No Doubt, which there was a group that had Gwen Stefani in it, Sting,
Ooh.
and Shania Twain.
Well, that's a good one.
Right? Man, I feel like a woman. Love that song.
I do too.
Okay. Again, Chandler will not know this. John Ritter died.
Oh my God, we loved him.
And what show was he on?
Three's Company.
Come and knock on my door.
We're doing a singing episode.
So you know what all the kids are doing now? Like, when I say kids, I mean like probably in their 20s or 30s. They're dressing up like Mrs. Roper. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have the whole outfit.
Oh, then you're doing it too.
I posted a photo. I have the wig, the moo-moo. The whole
Okay,
thing.
so the John Ritter kind of leads us to
Yes.
the Mrs. Roper today.
Yes.
Louis Vuitton released its first multicolor monogram bag.
Gotta throw in the bags.
Yeah.
You had one.
A Louis Vuitton in my
Oh, you did?
Poshmark closet. No, I have Coach. Those are
Oh, your blue one was Coach.
yeah, and Brahmin. But I have Louis Vuitton in my Poshmark closet. If you would like more information, please email me and I will send you a coupon for $10 off from Poshmark. Okay. We're going to come full circle. In 2003, Wicked made its debut on Broadway. And now in 2004, it's in the movies,
Well,
right?
it's 2024, but
I mean,
yes, you're right.
2024. Thank you
Yes.
for correcting me.
Anytime.
So it's in the movies now. Is it still on Broadway? Does anybody know? I feel like
I do
it is.
not know.
I've always wanted to
But
see
I
it.
did see the movie recently.
Did you? Was
with
it
my
good?
kids. It was really good.
Oh my gosh.
I
Okay.
loved it.
I'm so jelly.
I loved it.
All right. We're going to Hobart, Indiana. Anybody familiar with? No. Okay. Hobart's population is around 35,000. It's located just outside of Chicago. Hobart has a small town atmosphere and it's filled with middle-class working people. So just your average little
It's
town.
where I'm raised, 60 miles south of Chicago.
Wow.
Midwest.
Would you like to give a shout out to those people there?
Love the people there. Hey, Darla. I know she's a Patreon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about a couple of residents of Hobart. Barbara and Phil Garcia. I don't know either one of their date of birth, but we're going to get to their ages later on in the story. I'm going to say that they were born in the 1930s, 40s range. So
Really?
that gives you kind of a picture of what age we're dealing with.
Depression era people.
Yes. Korean War coming not too long after that. So Barbara had lived in Indiana all of her life. She grew up in Hobart. She was shy and quiet as a child. About a year after Barbara graduated from high school, which I think is around 1960, she found out she was pregnant. So, that was super taboo. She wasn't married,
Right.
like super taboo. And Barbara and baby daddy broke up. They didn't stay together. But her daughter, Tammy, was born in 1961.
Tammy.
Yes. Not long after Tammy was born, Barbara met Phil Garcia. Phil was 10 years older than Barbara. He went into the service when he was 17 to fight in the Korean War. He was wounded and received the Purple Heart.
17. Wow.
Well, I remember my grandfather telling me that he lied about his age when
Yeah.
he went in so that he could go serve. So, maybe they...
It was different then.
Yes, it was.
You could get away with it.
This poor man, Phil, was also a prisoner of war.
Wow.
Yeah. After he got back home, he just wanted to put all of that shit behind him. He got a job at the Ford Motor Company. I'm assuming it's like one in Chicago. I try to look up where I'm thinking a place where they have an assembly line and they build
Right.
cars. Okay. He made good money. A few years later, he met Barbara at a wedding that they were both attending for a friend. And they dated for a while. And then they got married.
Awesome.
When they got married, Tammy was 9 months old. So that kind of tells you the the time frame of, what they would, when they would be dating and when Tammy was born. And
I wonder if she's named after the movie like you.
Tammy. It is a singing episode. So when they got married, Phil adopted Tammy as his own, much like my situation in my childhood.
Right.
Barbara and Phil went on to have 3 more children. All of those were boys. So they have Tammy and 3 sons. Despite having all these kids, Barbara found time to go to nursing school. She became an LPN. And from all appearances, the Garcias were the all-American family, the family next door. All right. 2003. We're going to fast forward. That's a little background on them. We are going to October 31st, 2003. Halloween is a big deal in Hobart. People decorated. There was trick-or-treating. There were costumes. All the Halloween fanfare. You're picturing it in your mind, right? So by Halloween of 2003, the Garcia kids were all grown up. Barbara and Phil were retired. Barbara was 61 at this point, and Phil was 71.
I'm 61.
Gee,
Don't tell anybody.
I don't think we want to compare you to anyone in this story.
No, let's not.
Okay. So Barbara was a nice little old grandma, and Phil was a nice little old pawpaw, which are names not suitable for either of you.
Okay. I was hoping you wasn't going there with that.
On this particular Halloween, Barbara was doing what she did every Halloween. She was giving out candy to the kids. All right. Any questions so far?
No.
All right.
What kind of candy?
I'm hoping it was Reese's peanut butter cups because those are my favorite. All right. Anything else? Because we're going to kind of flip over now to the woods.
The woods.
Spooky.
Don't go in
I was
going to
ask if this is a spooky time story.
It is not a spooky time story.
Even though it's on Halloween.
It's on Halloween.
It kind of is.
Well,
By default.
And now you're talking about woods.
yes.
Yeah. That's
Just
as spooky as you can get.
You're right. However, it is not ultimately a spooky time story. So 3 days after Halloween, on November 3rd, 2003, a man is walking through the woods and stumbled upon a blue tarp. The tarp was bound with orange extension cords. There was a body inside the tarp. The body was bloody and had injuries about the face and head. The man who discovered the scene ran for help. He found another guy nearby. How many people are in these woods?
Right? What the heck?
He found this guy. Okay, so I looked up in 2003, about 50% of the population had cell phones. So let's assume that the service wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And if either one of these guys were actually part of the 50%, they were in the woods.
Definitely not in the woods.
So they had to go find help, together.
Yes.
And so they however way they went about it, they got the local sheriff's department out there to the scene. Detectives arrived. The body was in the tarp. The body in the tarp was an older man. He was dressed in his pajamas. He had no identification. The body was in a tarp, but inside the tarp, it was rolled up in a rug.
It's always a rug.
Right?
Gotta keep an extra rug around.
Those orange electrical cords that I said were binding the body also had cinder blocks tied to them. Yeah. No joke. Your face.
That usually means water.
I was
Somebody's going to
wondering, is
sink
there
'em?
a lake or...
There's a pond nearby.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm thinking the killer was like, I'll just get this body in the pond, sink it. Right.
Yes.
So the detectives are there scanning the scene, and it looks like there was an embankment, and it looks like the body had been rolled down the embankment with the intention of it maybe going in the pond, but it didn't make it all the way. Sloppy.
Very sloppy.
Yeah.
We all know better than that.
Or
Yeah.
someone walked up on them while they were
Could
doing
be.
it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah. Any other theories?
I don't.
It's that other random guy that's wandering around the woods.
Yeah,
He's
it
my
was-
first suspect.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe they didn't want to get their shoes wet. Just left the body there.
Bro, this is the woods. I'm just rolling you down and hope you make it into the pond.
I think someone walked up on it.
You think
That's
so?
what I was thinking. Yeah.
Interrupted
Yeah.
the
Definitely
killer.
interrupted.
The body didn't appear to have any gunshot wounds or ligature marks. It had no stab wounds. They did an autopsy and the medical examiner couldn't find any cause of death.
Suffocation.
No, but there would be petechial hemorrhaging in the eyes.
Oh, okay.
I think I said that right. I probably said it wrong. Okay, the medical examiner was like, I don't see anything physically going on with this guy, so let's order a full toxicology screening and see what that comes up with. But that doesn't happen overnight. So we'll set that tox screen aside for a bit. They were able to get fingerprints off the body. And through the fingerprints, they found out that this man was Phil Garcia, Barbara's husband.
Poor Phil.
Yeah. His prints were in the system because he was a veteran. So that's how they were able to determine who he was. Now they have to notify Barbara. Those police went to Barbara and Phil's house to let Barbara know her husband was deceased. When they got to the house, no one answered the door. So being snoopy as they are, they snooped around the outside of the house and they saw a few interesting things in the backyard. A stack of cinder blocks.
Oops.
That were neatly and precisely stacked, but there were 2 missing from the stack. The cinder blocks in the stack in the backyard had red markings on them. The cinder blocks tied to Phil had red markings on them.
Sloppy, sloppy, sloppy.
Sloppy Joe, sloppy Joe. There was also in the backyard a package of tarps. And the package said there's 2 tarps, but there was only 1 inside the package. So there's a missing tarp. Yeah.
All right, Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah, she needs to take a clue.
Bro, she has no cover-up skills whatsoever.
Yeah. And I guess next is the rug in the hallways missing.
Yeah.
The runner is no longer there.
You are foreshadowing. Okay, so
you can see the dust outline of the
Yeah, where the carpet used to be, where they didn't vacuum.
bruh. Okay, so about this time, y'all are gonna die laughing in a minute. Okay, about this time, Barbara pulls up in the driveway. She had just come from the store. She got out of the car, and the police were like, "This is a nice little sweet grandma. This woman could not have done anything to her husband. She's a little mama. She didn't have the stature that would indicate she could have wrapped her husband in a tarp and a rug and dumped his body. Okay, she was itty bitty. So they're like, "Hey, Miss Barbara, can we go inside and talk for a minute?" And she's like, "Sure, come on in." And the house looked like a normal house. There was pictures of their kids and they had 2 dogs and just everything looked normal. Typical middle class home. As they made their way into the living room.
He's already laughing.
What did they notice, Chandler?
Did they see the dust on the floor?
Yes. One of the detectives noticed there had been a rug under the coffee table because they could see the outline of it.
Yes. You got it, Bing.
And he was like to himself.
Call me Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
There you go.
He was like sus to himself.
Sus.
And then also one of the detectives saw a picture of Phil in the living room. And that picture was of Phil in the living room and they could see the rug on the floor.
Oh my God.
All right. So this is just before any conversation has even started yet. So I told you were going to start laughing. You literally, did you read my papers whenever you? All right.
He's listened to a few pods.
Yeah.
He could see it coming.
Okay. So the rug in the picture looked exactly like the rug they found Phil wrapped up in. So literally so many red flags. Okay. When the detectives tell Barbara that Phil was found deceased, she appeared to be surprised. At first, though, she was kind of confused. You know, like how I'm not really comprehending what's going on. Like when your child told you that you were going to be a grandma.
Yes, I think the shock factor.
Yes.
She's still in shock.
Barbara was going the same way. Like she was feeling the same feelings. So about this time during the conversation, Tammy arrives. So Tammy's 41 at this point. Okay.
Okay.
Barbara said, "Tammy, your father's dead." And Tammy's response wasn't exactly like Barbara's response. She just sat down and had no reaction.
Oh my God, what if Tammy did it? That would be a good twist.
Police asked Barbara, when was the last time you saw Phil? Tammy interjected she had seen him the day before Halloween on October 30th. Barbara told investigators that on October 30th, she and Phil had an argument. They fought about Tammy. Tammy had been kicked out of her home and had moved in with Barbara and Phil. And Phil was done. He had had enough.
Come on, man. You got to let Tammy live with you.
I mean,
She needs a roof over her head.
I don't know. But after a month, he was like, peace the fuck out. I don't want her here. She got to go. So he and Barbara argued about that. Okay. Barbara went on to tell the investigators that after the argument, Phil got dressed and left the house. Does this seem suspicious to anyone, considering any of the evidence that I've given you so far?
Well, he was in his jammies, so first of all.
That's it. Perfect. Again, police are like, rug missing, rug in the picture. We found him in his pajamas. He wasn't dressed. So all these red flags, everything's so suspicious. Even with all of these red flags, the investigators were still like, Meemaw could not have done this. She is too grandmotherly. She could not commit such a heinous crime. They couldn't even believe that Tammy could have killed Phil. Like, they were just like, all the arrows are pointing here, but we just can't. We don't believe it. But Tammy had a motive, right?
Yes. You're kicking me out.
Yes.
No roof over my head.
She didn't have anywhere to go.
You don't love me anymore.
Yes. You're unadopting me, basically, at 41. Okay. So November 6th. So at this point, it's nearly a week after Phil had been seen, and we know he's been found dead. So the police asked Barbara and Tammy to come down to the police station for further questioning. The women agreed. Mistake number 1, don't ever go down to the station for further questioning.
Okay, good to know.
Yes. And when they say you have a right to remain silent.
Remain silent.
That
part I do know.
Yes. I used to be like, I'm not guilty. I'll tell you whatever. That's my thought process.
No, they twist it around.
Oh, no, I'm not
I've seen
fucking
enough
doing
crime shows. They will twist your words.
So not going to do it.
Nope.
Here's my lawyer, All right. So they put the two ladies in separate interrogation rooms because they wanted to check out if their stories matched up. Barbara started the interview off by telling detectives that she watched a lot of police shows and she know how all this works.
But a lot of people do.
But that's like me. Like, you take me to the station and I do a true crime podcast.
Right.
I'm fucking, whatever.
I'll wait for your attorney.
One thing that get me is, why wasn't he reported missing?
Agree. I mean, some of that may be revealed to you as we go through this. That might answer your question. I don't have a definitive answer on that, but I think.
But if they're innocent, they should have called.
Yeah, you would think.
Missing person report or whatever.
Your husband or your
if you're
father
innocent,
or somebody missing.
Listen to the rest of the story.
Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Listen to the rest of the story. But my point is, why would you go into a police interview and lead with that before they ask you any questions? I watch a lot of police shows.
I'm basically a cop.
Yeah. You don't even have to read me my rights. I'll read my rights to myself.
I know them.
Okay. So during the interrogation, Barbara was calm and she really didn't seem like she had a care in the world. That's suspicious to me as well. Investigators started the questioning by telling Barbara what they have found versus what she said, and things weren't jiving. They're like, Phil was in his pajamas, not his clothes. You said he got dressed. There was a rug on the living room floor, and it was a rug Phil was wrapped in. So they're laying it all out. What would you do if you were Barbara at this point?
Shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not talking.
She did not shut up. She started changing her story.
Worst thing.
Yes. She said that argument that she and Phil had became heated, and she threw a snow globe at him.
Oh, she's not very smart.
And she ran, the snow globe hit him in the chest, and she ran to the bedroom and like locked herself in for a little while. And then when she came out, Phil was dead on the couch. Yeah.
Death by snow globe.
You know, I mean, if someone was going to kill me, that might not be the worst. It'd make for a funny story. So
That's all I want is a good story.
yeah, a good story. So then Barbara goes on to say, when she found Phil dead, this is my husband I've been married to for over 40 years. My feeling would be, I would be horrified and I would be crying. She immediately started thinking about Phil's pension and retirement money. If he was dead, his Social Security and pension would stop coming, and she and Tammy needed that money to survive.
You know what I think she did?
Tell me.
I think she sat right down on the couch next to him, turn on some true crime, and try to figure out what they did. That's why that's why they found him like that.
So do you think that she was like watching multiple true crime shows to see if she could figure out a way to hide the body or something like that?
She was fast forwarding everything.
Oh yeah, she was.
Yeah, she didn't take good notes
two times
because
speed.
every single thing was a red herring.
Well,
the cinder
Well,
blocks and the tarp.
You know, it's always a stupid criminal though. So
Yes.
maybe she watched a stupid criminal episode.
Maybe so. So the retirement and pension, I'm thinking like the Social Security, and I guess from the Ford Motor Company, he had some type of pension or retirement plan.
probably
Anyway,
really good.
apparently all of that would stop no matter what if he's dead.
Usually the surviving spouse gets it, but
I
anyway.
would think so too. But
Again, she's not very bright, so she doesn't probably
I don't know.
understand
You're probably
how
right.
it works.
So instead of calling 911, Barbara managed to get Phil down on the rug and started rolling him up in the living room rug. That's when Tammy came home.
I love rugs. I do buy rugs on a whim. I'm just saying.
And
Are
we
you-
move a lot of things with rugs.
Are y'all planning on like doing something with a body in one of those rugs or
We
something?
do have a lot of rugs.
Okay, so when Tammy comes home and sees this, Barbara's telling investigators this story, okay? And she said Tammy wanted to call the police, but Barbara was like, no, we can't call the police. She convinced Tammy to help her get rid of Phil's body so that they could keep the money coming in. Barbara went on to say that Tammy was very reluctant to help, but she finally did agree to help. So when the two women tried to get Phil, who was wrapped in a rug, wrapped in a tarp, into the back of his pickup truck, they hit a snag. Phil weighed 220 pounds. He was not a small man. They couldn't lift him into the truck. They wrapped him. Oh, sorry. He was just in a rug at this point. This is when they wrapped him in a tarp and decided to leave him in the garage. So, I don't know. Maybe they thought he was going to get cold. I don't know. Bad joke. So the next day after this happened was Halloween, and there's little old sweet Grandma Barbara handing out candy to the kids. And I just typed, what the fuck?
No way.
Yeah, I would be freaking the fuck out.
Business as usual.
Business as usual. Barbara told police that she figured that when she threw the snow globe at Phil and they were having the argument, that he had a heart attack, not that the snow globe killed him. And it was conceivable because he was 71 years old. He had heart problems. He was overweight. Like, it could be a plausible, scenario.
Exactly. But they didn't call anybody. So
Right.
now they're sus.
Yes. Yeah. So Phil was laying dead in the garage. Barbara's handing out Halloween candy. She's going about her normal routine after that. She went and got her hair did.
We gotta look cute for the funeral.
She went to the store. Lil Meemaw with the cold black heart was just doing her thing. Okay. Barbara knew she needed to do something with Phil's body before it started smelling. Because, that's when the neighbors get involved. And that's when you get caught, right? Now, by whatever means, and I don't think I could have physically done it, she got Phil loaded up in the truck, drove him to the wooded area where his body was found. And the police are believing this story because it's matching up to the evidence at this point. So the police are like, okay, you told us that. And we're just letting you know we did an autopsy. Didn't show cause of death. So we don't know if your heart attack thing is, really valid. But we did order a full toxicology screening.
Oh boy.
On Phil.
I know she clenched up when they said that.
She did. Do you want to know how much she clenched up? She stopped in her tracks. Like backed the truck up, hit reverse, beep, beep, beep. She changed her story again. So what is this? Story number 2 now?
Ruh-roh.
Or story number 3?
3.
Come on, Granny. Just tell the truth. The investigators decided to get this version of the story on video. Barbara started off, this is on video, you can watch it online, by admitting that she had not told the truth or the whole story. Be like, okay, Barbara, come on, time to tell us the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So here we go, as I like to say when we get to the meat of the story. Barbara started off this version of the story with, about 7 years ago, I had a gambling problem. So near there,
There's a twist.
near where she lived, there were boat casinos, which she frequented. And according to her, she was always at the boats gambling. Barbara told detectives that she had gone through a large amount of money. You want to know how much? You want to guess?
Well, in 2003, a lot. I mean, maybe 100 grand, 250.
70 grand.
Okay, 100 grand. I was close.
Yeah. But Phil didn't know about the 70 grand. Bro, are you not balancing your checkbook? Like what? This is why you need to balance your checkbook, okay?
Yeah, I
Phil
stopped.
also didn't know that at some point in time, she had remortgaged their house.
Ooh.
When Phil found out about all this shit, he was pissed, as any normal human being
Yeah,
would be.
Rightfully so.
Yes. So at this point, Barbara says that she attempted suicide because she just didn't know
Well,
any other way out of this situation. So obviously she didn't succeed because she's still here with us at this story. So the suicide attempt, after the suicide attempt, she spent a week in a mental facility. And I guess they Baker acted
Baker
her.
Act.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a Florida term. I don't know, but I know it because I worked at a mental health facility for a little stint there in Florida. All right.
I did not know that.
Yes, I did.
I have 2 friends that work there now. Sidebar.
Really?
Yes, they love it.
Do they?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
And the pool company I work for cleans their pool there. So there's a lot of weird.
So the thing I felt about it, I wasn't working with the patients. I was the person who had to try to collect money from the patients after they had
Ooh.
incurred a bill. And it's really hard when you call someone and they think they're Jesus Christ and you're trying to collect,
Was there a pool there?
not when
a
I
pool
worked
there
there,
now.
but
Anyway,
anyway. Okay.
sidebar.
So she was in a mental facility for a week. What do you think Phil did next? Or what would you do next?
Took her name off all the accounts, hopefully.
What do you think, Chandler?
Yeah, I would agree.
What about you, Austin?
Absolutely.
You are all wrong.
Oh,
Whoops.
okay.
He forgave Barbara and took her back, and they tried to make their life work, but he left her on their joint checking account. No, Phil, no, is what I wrote.
Poor Phil.
Barbara said Phil never trusted her again. He was always calling her a liar. When she went anywhere with Tammy, Phil would start in on him the second they got home. Barbara said this is how the fight started the day before Halloween. Barbara tearfully told investigators that the fights have been getting worse over the last few years. She said he was constantly writing her. She said she couldn't do anything right in Phil's eyes. Barbara, baby, you kind of dug this hole
You
for
screwed
yourself.
up
You
big
put
time.
yourself in this shit. So she says Phil was verbally and mentally abusive. He would go on rampages where he would beat Barbara.
Of course he would. Yeah.
Yes. Then Barbara begins to tell another version of what actually happened on October 30th.
We're going to the 4th version.
Barbara said she was walking toward the bathroom and Phil thought she was getting ready to go out somewhere, like maybe a casino. Before she could reach the bathroom, he started yelling at her, "You're not going anywhere." And he swung at Barbara and scratched her nose with his ring. Then he swung at her again. Now, she's telling the story, okay? Then he swung at her again and scratched her arm with his ring. I'm like, is Phil blind? Like, why?
He's just old.
Just a scratch.
He's just old.
She is right there, and he just flicking his ring around, scratching her. Like, bro, lay her out. Okay. Anyway. Barbara said she scrambled away and got into her bedroom and locked the door, and that she could hear Phil raging on the other side of the door. Okay. So I'm watching this interrogation video, and I'm thinking to myself, this story could not get any worse.
So cockeyed right now.
Okay.
Is she doing all the hand motions that tell you that you're lying?
Oh, the ticks?
Yeah, the ticks.
She's showing her poker face real easily.
Scratching her neck.
No, remember, Phil scratched her nose and her arm.
Right.
She didn't need to scratch anything.
Right.
Okay. Then she goes on to say that she's been helping Tammy with money. Y'all, the child is living, okay, she's 41. The child is living with you and you're giving her money to, like, she needs to get a job. She needs to get off the tit. But you're giving her money. Now, Barbara has...
Enabling.
Yes. Barbara has given her so much money that she has overdrawn her and Phil's checking account by $4,000. It's in the negative.
What is Tammy doing?
Phil didn't know about
Does
this.
Tammy have a gambling problem as well?
Never
Drug
surfaced.
problem?
Never surfaced in
What does she
my
need all this money for?
research. That's what I'm saying. Dude.
Got a roof over your head? They're probably making a little home cooked meal.
Yeah. All right. So Barbara knew that if Phil found out about this, it would be the last straw. And Barbara told the investigator she was terrified because Phil had already threatened to throw her and Tammy out of the house. So it's now, at this point, that Barbara decides she's going to kill Phil. So she's saying, I planned it. And does anybody remember what Barbara does for a living?
Oh, shit. Did we know that?
She went to nursing school. I knew that.
Oh, that's right. She's
Yes.
an LPN. That's right.
Yes. So Barbara's murder weapon was some spiked coffee, and not spiked in the good way. She used 10 Klonopin and 5 Articaine. So I had to look these up, okay? Klonopin is a benzodiazepine that slows down the nervous system and makes you relax. It's only available by prescription, and the normal dose is typically 1 pill twice a day. Barbara gave Phil 10 pills
In his coffee?
in his coffee.
And you don't taste that?
I don't know. I mean, Barbara didn't say, like, I don't know. Maybe Phil had COVID. No, that wasn't COVID. And I was like, he lost his taste. Or,
No, wait.
it wasn't. It
before.
was too early for COVID. So Articaine is a short-acting local anesthetic. Now, to me, in my research, it didn't sound like something you would go get at the drugstore. It sounded like something that would be administered to you by maybe a dentist if you were having oral surgery, or an anesthesiologist if you were having a nerve block or something like that.
Okay.
So I don't have a what's the normal dose for you on that, but she gave him 5 of whatever that.
It's not a typical drug that he should have had in his system
No.
when they did the tox screen.
Not at all. No. So we haven't even got to the tox screen yet, okay? So this is just what she's telling police that she gave him. Despite the large doses that she gave him, it didn't kill him. It put him to sleep, and that was it. Like, seriously. So she's kind of panicking, doesn't know what to do next. She gets a vial of insulin and injected Phil. Now, Tammy is diabetic, so that's where the insulin came from. The police asked Barbara, how many shots did you give to Phil? And she's like, I think 10, but I don't really believe. Wow. I don't know. Jesus, you gave this man so many injections, you lost count of the injections. Yeah. So, and to me, I was thinking, if you're using Tammy's insulin to kill Phil, aren't you essentially killing Tammy
because
too?
she won't have her medication.
Right. So Barbara knew if she called the police, there would be an autopsy and they would find out what she had done. So she decided to get rid of Phil's body. She convinced Tammy to help. Tammy was crying and telling her mom, this is all wrong. We need to call the police. But eventually Tammy agreed to help. So we have pieces.
She's still accessory to the crime.
I agree. We have pieces and parts here of these stories to me that kind of sort of are lining up. But like mostly it's Tammy didn't have anything to do with it in the pieces and parts. You know, she's saying Tammy didn't have anything to do with it. Don't blame her. Okay. On Halloween, after passing out candy, Barbara and Tammy moved Phil. Now we get to find out their genius plan, because I would have never thought of this. Phil, a large man, wrapped in a rug, then wrapped in a tarp. They wrapped a rope around Phil and threw the rope over the truck that they were trying to get him into and tied the rope to Tammy's bumper of her car. And as she backed out of the driveway, Phil was hoisted up into the bed of the truck. And quite literally, I would have never thought of that.
That's probably the only smart thing they
that's some
did.
geometries right
That
there.
is definitely geometry.
There you go.
Then Barbara drove to the area in the woods where they found Phil. Okay, now I know what you're probably thinking. I don't really know if Tammy drove with her. My gut says yes, but I could never find any hard concrete yes.
She didn't give her up at all. She was covering her up, covering for her.
Well, she's just telling the police she drove.
Okay.
She didn't say whether Tammy did or not, but throughout the interview, she did say, like, I made Tammy do this. Like, she shouldn't be blamed for any of this. I did it. So Barbara said she got Phil's body down the hill. Again, how did you get him out the truck? Like, you're a little old lady. So that's why I'm thinking Tammy was there to help her pull him out of the truck. And Barbara said she rolled him down the hill and she saw that he didn't make it into the pond, but that it started raining and she was afraid she was going to fall down the hill. So no, she was not interrupted. She was just lazy. If you're going to do it right.
Very bad murderer.
Yes, she is. Yeah. So, I mean, think about this though. If her plan would have worked and she was able to send Phil down this embankment and he really went into the water with the cinder blocks, who knows when or if they would have even found it.
Right. She would have collected that money.
Yeah.
Until who knows when.
Yep. So in the meantime, the results from the toxicology report revealed that Phil had between 20 and 400 times the amount of insulin that he should have had in his. This is a huge range to me. Can we not narrow this down? 20 or 400? Like,
well, once you get to 20 times, you're like,
just whatever. Bro. It could be 1,000. It doesn't matter.
400 is the max that they get.
So November 10th, 2003. So that's about 10 days after Phil had been murdered. Barbara was arrested. This shocked everyone in the town. Barbara's family couldn't believe that she would have done this. Barbara and Phil had been married for over 40 years.
Wow.
A week after Barbara's arrest, Tammy was arrested. She was charged with improperly moving a dead body.
Brother.
What's a proper way?
That is a thing. Something we just watched said you were involved because you moved a dead body when you shouldn't have, and they got. What were we just watching? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that is a thing.
What the proper way is the coroner comes. And then you go to a funeral home and the rest is history. Yeah. Okay. Tammy was not charged with murder. All right. Let's go to trial. September 26, 2005. So we're nearly 2 years later. Okay, how many stories do we have at this point?
4.
17, like...
As far as I could remember, 4, yes.
All right, we have it taped.
20 to 400.
Yes, we have 20 to 400 stories. It reminds me of...
Diane.
Yeah.
There was 300 or 1,000 people at my house
yes.
that day. Yes.
So, they put Barbara on the stand, and she recounted her confession that they had on video. She said... She found Phil dead, that she did not kill him. She admitted to moving the body. again, because she needed his money, his pension, his retirement, but she didn't kill him. The prosecution, in my opinion, at this point, can the prosecution say, okay, bitch, you have told us either 20 to 400 stories, which, like, now you're up here telling us another story. I don't know if they could say that or not, but that would be the card I would play if I were the prosecution. How many times are you going to change your story? So when Barbara's on the stand, she was asked about why in the toxicology report did we find sedatives and insulin, and she didn't have a reason for that. And people started thinking at this point in the trial that maybe Tammy had more to do with the situation than that was coming, and that Barbara had been trying to cover for her or take the rap for her. And now she's recanting her confession because she's like, fuck that. I know she's my kid, but I'm not going down for
the whole thing.
Yeah. So we know Tammy had a motive. She was about to be kicked out of the house. She didn't have anywhere to go. We also know that Tammy was diabetic and she was experienced at injecting insulin. Did Barbara decide to turn on Tammy to keep herself out of jail? To further complicate Barbara's trial, it was revealed that the autopsy found no injection sites.
What?
Over 10. Remember, I lost count. 10, maybe 400 times I injected him with insulin. Yeah. She thought 10, right? No injection sites. So between the recounted confession and the lack of injection sites, the prosecution was like, their ass was in a crack, right? You're in a jury. You're pleading this before a jury. You never know how they're going to react. So in closing arguments, the prosecutor had to rely on the fact that Phil's body contained an inordinate amount of insulin and his body could not have naturally produced that much insulin. Then the prosecution offered several explanations of why there were no needle marks. 1, his body had been exposed to the elements for 2 days before it was found.
He was in the garage.
No, but
out
after
there
that,
too.
He had been there for 2 days. 2, Barbara was a nurse and she could have made the injection so carefully that she didn't leave any signs or marks behind. Finally, I love this prosecutor, but I feel like he's a little cray-cray. His final point was a demonstration to the jury, and he was like pulling up his sleeve, dramatically stabs a needle into his arm.
No.
Yeah. And then he pulls it out, and then he says to the jury, can you see where that hole is? Nope, nothing visible. So
That hurts me.
Yeah,
Me too.
he did. So,
But they also say under the fingernails, there's places to put them where you can't see it. So
yeah,
That hurts even thinking.
toenails, fingernails.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Well, the prosecution was like, this bitch going down. I'm not having it. Let me pull out a needle and stab myself in closing arguments. And that, okay. Jury deliberated for 10 hours. I feel like that's way too long. Most of these I say that I feel like that's way too long. But I get that there was some sketchy shit in here with her recounting her confession and, the autopsy not showing needle mark. I get it. But after 10 hours, by this time, Barbara's 63 years old. She was found guilty of murder. She was sentenced to 55 years in prison. And I looked it up. As of December 2024, she's still alive. She has Parkinson's.
Oh.
She's serving time in Rockville Correctional Facility. To this day, she says she has committed no crimes and that Phil died of natural causes.
And what about Tammy?
Barbara's projected release date is April 2028. That's not that far from now.
It's not.
Tammy Garcia pled guilty to her charge and received 18 months in prison. And what I wrote next was, well, at least she had somewhere to stay.
That's what I was going to say. She had a roof over her head.
She had 3 hots and a cot. Yep. Tammy is the only one of Barbara's 4 kids that's still in contact with Barbara.
Well, I don't blame the other 3.
Yes. So let me tell y'all where I went to do some of this research. After I have a sip.
What are you sipping? We didn't even ask.
Oh, I am sipping Swear Jar. Chandler, what are you sipping?
Got an unopened Twisted Tea. I'll open it right now.
Heidi?
Just Bud Light after my Cajun eggnog daiquiri.
Oh, and Austin?
You know,
Bud Light.
Bud Light.
Okay, mylifeofcrime.com, drugs.com, medicalnewstoday.com, in.gov, BuzzFeed. That's some of my other, like the pop culture and things like that. Snapped, season 21, episode 12 on Peacock.
I have not
Snapped.
watched Snapped. But
Oh, I have a picture.
I do have Peacock.
Let me show the audience. Okay, the little old lady is Meemaw Barbara.
I'm never going to be Meemaw after this. Never.
And
Mama Home
Next-
is me.
I know she is Austin's mom, and she's a Meemaw too. She's the cutest thing ever.
the lady next to Meemaw is Tammy.
Okay.
And I'll pass this around if y'all would like to look at it closer. Okay.
Yeah, Tammy kind of looks mean. I'm not gonna lie.
She does.
Tammy does look
She
mean.
looks like she has a chip on her shoulder.
Yeah.
That's what I thought at least. Okay, so we can go. You know, I like to kind of do something funny at the end to kind of lighten the mood. But I also have some true crime trivia. Few questions. Which would y'all rather do?
Well, we can do trivia because we have a room full of people. So let's
Okay,
do that.
all right. Y'all want to do true crime trivia? You can just throw it on the floor, Chris. You don't need to do anything with it. Okay. We're going to let the people in the background that are not mic'd play as well.
Yes.
Raise your hand if you know the answer to this. And it's going to be multiple choice. Okay, let me read it all the way through. Which Beatles song inspired Charles Manson's delusions about a race war?
I should know this.
All right. I'm going to tell you your choices. If you know, raise your hand. Hello, Goodbye. A, B, Hey Jude. C, Helter Skelter. D, Ticket to Ride. Oh, Chris, I saw your hand first.
Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
You got it. Helter
C.
Skelter. All right. Now, the next one is 1893, but you've probably heard of this guy. Who operated an elaborate murder castle during the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago?
Oh,
Chris is raising his hand, and I have
done this pod.
I know we have. So I'm gonna
Oh,
let Chris
my
answer
gosh.
before I even give the multiple choice.
Did a report about him in school.
Do
It
do
was,
do 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 do
He was,
do
he was also
do.
predicted to be Jack the Ripper.
Okay, you're gonna have to hold on.
I don't have a name.
So now you're gonna know who it is when I say the name,
Yeah.
Chris. So don't say anything. Okay, we're gonna give everybody else in here a chance. Who operated an elaborate murder castle during the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago?
Chicago, yes.
John Wayne Gacy, Mary Bell, David Berkowitz, H.H. Holmes. Anybody other than
H.H.
Chris?
It's got to be H.H.
It's H.H. Holmes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Now you remember, huh?
Yes.
Which of the following killers eventually turned him or herself in? A, Eileen Warnos. B, Gary Ridgway. C, Edmund Kemper. D, Ted Bundy. Anybody have a guess on this? Do I need it? Okay, Chris is raising his hand.
Ed Kemper.
You are correct, sir. Ed Kemper.
Dude, on a roll.
I think
Man-
he's reading the books.
Hey, this man
He's on a roll.
this man knows his murder. Okay. What was the name of John Wayne Gacy's clown alter ego?
Oh.
This one I should know. I'm freaking from Chicago. Hello.
A, Funny. B, Pogo. C, Pasty. D, Loco.
Was it pasty?
You didn't raise your hand.
None of them sound familiar.
No, Pasty is incorrect.
No, that none of those sound right.
Funny, Pogo, Loco. Okay, Chris.
I'm going to go with Pogo.
Pogo is correct, sir.
That didn't even ring a bell.
Bro, he's got one. Well, we can't count H.H. Holmes. 1, 2. You're 3 of 4, Chris. He's going to have to be on the podcast.
Mhm.
Okay. Son of Sam. What did Son of Sam claim was giving him orders to kill? A, his dead mother's phone. B, his neighbor's dog. C, his car. D, his alarm clock. Anybody
These
want to
are
raise?
all wild.
They are wild. Would you like to take a stab, Chandler? You haven't raised your hand.
I'm gonna raise my hand and say the neighbor's dog.
That is it. Ding, 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 ding. You got it right.
Good one. I didn't know.
Okay. Who helped authorities profile the Green River killer while he or she was in prison? A. Jeffrey Dahmer. B. Eileen Wuornos. C. Ted Bundy. D. Edmund Kemper.
I have a guess.
Okay, what is
I
it?
do not know. C.
Ted Bundy?
Yeah.
You are correct. Ding, 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 ding,
I
ding.
think I heard that he was giving up other killers or helping them solve other crimes
Yeah.
or something. That's the only reason I guessed that.
So to me, logically, if I didn't know the answer, I probably would have said Edmund Kemper simply because I've watched Mindhunter on Netflix and he was a very big character in that show. Have you watched it?
No.
Oh my God. So good. It's done. It's been over for years, but everybody, we need to get a petition together and sign, please bring back Mindhunter because it was amazing.
But we could pretty much discount Eileen because we know her.
We know her
entire
Yes,
story.
we
So
know all her
If she's
shit.
a guess, I'm like,
We
mm-mm.
done been to the bar where they took her down.
We talked to the owner.
Yes, we did. He was quite the character.
He was awesome.
All right.
He gave us stickers.
We have a couple more. Here we go. True or false? One of Jeffrey Dahmer's victims escaped but was returned to him by the police. True or false? Yes, Chris.
True.
True.
That's horrible.
He actually, Jeffrey Dahmer took kind of younger men, and this kid was so, I don't know if he was drunk. I don't know if he had
indoctrinated or something.
No, I don't know if he had been drugged. He couldn't communicate things to the police. So when they found him naked on the street because he had escaped, Jeffrey Dahmer came out and was like, "Oh, this is my boyfriend. We just had a fight. He's really drunk. I'm trying to, get him back in the house." And police were just like, "Okay, take him back in the house."
They showed that really good on that show Dahmer.
Netflix Dahmer, yes.
I can't watch it. I think it freaks me out.
Okay.
In my mind.
Who was convicted and executed for the kidnap and murder of Charles Lindbergh's son? A. Bruno Richard Hauptmann. B. John Condon. C. William J. Donovan. D. Mickey Rosner.
No guess.
Anyone?
No guess.
Anyone? I would have not have known this.
Mm-mm.
Bruno Richard Hauptmann, John Condon, William J. Donovan, Mickey Rosner.
C.
William J. Donovan is incorrect. Bruno Richard Hauptmann. Didn't know that one. This one I knew because I did a story on it. Which duo killed a teenager in 1924 just because they wanted to commit, in quotes, the perfect crime? A. Hitchcock and Smith. B. Bonnie and Clyde. C. Leopold and Loeb. D. Harris and Kelbold. Anybody have a guess?
That sounds so familiar, but I don't know.
Would you like to stab at one of those?
I'm gonna go with D.
Harris and
Is that
Kelbold?
wrong?
It was C. Leopold and Loeb.
Okay.
Good podcast episode.
That sounds familiar.
Yes. So there you go. I'm proud of you all for.
Hey, you got any geography ones?
I do not. Chandler is the geography
Where
king.
was this crime committed? Was it Utah or Montana?
No, it's more like this. This crime was committed in, what's a place I always ask you about? What's that one? Cameroon. This crime was committed in Cameroon. Chandler, where's Cameroon? That's how that would have to go.
He knows where Cameroon
Oh my God, he
is.
knows
I
where
got it.
everything
But
is.
not where the murder was committed, but
No.
just where.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you all for being here. And thank you to the Peanut Gallery who are here. And Chris, you got a lot of those answers
He's
correct.
gonna pod before
Yeah,
he goes home.
you need to pod with us. Okay. I'm going to say again, please go help support the show. Patreon/grits. Every little bit helps. Chandler, thank you for camera switching and being in the episode.
And he saved the day earlier.
Oh, I forgot. We had so many technical difficulties before we got started, and Chandler did save the day. Heidi and Austin, thank you driving all the way from Florida to
Just for the pod.
just to be on
All
this
the way.
podcast. Peanut Gallery, thank you driving all the way from Iowa just to be in the Peanut Gallery. All right, guys, you know where we are. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on all the things. Please, I've been begging y'all, and I've gotten a couple new subscribers. But please go to YouTube and find us and subscribe and like. It really helps us out. We're trying to get monetized. All right. Am I missing anything? Anything? We covered everything?
You good?
I'm good.
All
you
right.
good?
You're good. We're good.
Chandler, you good?
All good.
All right. We'll tell your mom and them to listen. Tell your Meemaw and them to listen.
No.
And we're going to let Zydeco Mike take us out.